Howdy, guys, and welcome to Cliff Notes, and welcome to night number 23 of the overnight feed recaps for Big Brother season 27. Just as importantly, welcome to Eviction night. Yeah, we've got three people on the block. We've got Will or Kelly and Adrian on the block tonight. One of them is going to be going home. After last night's conversations, I'm pretty certain it's not going to be Will. Of course, we still have a few hours. I think really probably tonight we're going to be saying goodbye to Kelly and Adrian. Uh, but if Keanu has something to do with it, maybe that changes. We'll talk about all that. But we're gonna have eviction night tonight, and then we've got a new HOH, which is always exciting. All right, let's talk about the feeds. We'll start I don't know early evening or so, around when the TV episode was airing here on the East Coast and Central Time. But we'll start right around there. We've got Zach and Lauren talking to each other. Zach is saying that Kat had said that he, being Zach, that Zach and Vinny and Ava are the three people in the middle for this votes. The ones that they don't really know which direction maybe they would go as far as who they would vote to keep. Depending on which configuration ends up on the block at the end of the day. So, yeah, Zach's feeling that maybe he's in the middle a little bit, getting pulled a couple of different directions. Ava certainly is in that position as well, at least in other people's minds. So we'll talk about all of that. But yeah, Zach is mentioning that to Lauren. Lauren and Zach are both thinking that Jimmy is doing way too much in this game. They're talking about Jimmy just playing everyone at this point in time. That he's telling a lot of people a lot of different things, and that's got them a little bit worried. They are thinking and talking about the fact that he's going to supposedly he's going to vote to save Will as a way to prevent a tiebreaker from happening, so that Lauren isn't subjected to having to break a tie. We've heard her say over and over, "It's killing my stomach. I don't want to be a tiebreaker. I just don't want to do it." And apparently, Jimmy during the day had made some mentions that, "Hey, I'm just going to vote to save Will, so you don't have to do it. I'm doing it for you, Lauren. It's why I'm voting to save Will." So Zach is aware of that based on what Lauren is telling him. Lauren is saying that Jimmy had told Kat that Zach and Jimmy and Vince are all voting together to save Will. Not necessarily the case at this point in the day, the evening. But basically, Jimmy is telling people that all of them are voting to save Will as a way to get everyone on board. It's like a tidal wave. It's a tsunami. You get one or two people who commit to a vote, or at least you say they've committed to a vote. No one wants to vote against the House, so suddenly then other people start joining in as well. So yeah, he's saying Jimmy's going around saying that you and Jimmy and Vince, y'all are all voting to save Will, and he's using that to get other people to commit to voting to save Will as well. Zach has said that Jimmy had said at one point that Will had 7 votes to stay already. So in other words, he's staying no matter what. So why in the world would you vote against keeping him in the house? Vote on the wrong side of the house. It doesn't help your game any at all. So Jimmy trying to pull the numbers in. Jimmy's got a lot of influence in this house, as we'll see in a little bit later conversation. So got to watch out for that. I think Zach and Lauren are on the right target, worrying about Jimmy and his influences throughout the house. All right. We've got more Keanu talks, strategy with Rachel. Yeah, we'll call it strategy talk. I'm not sure that's the best label for what's going on. A long conversation. And I have got to say, I am giving Rachel a lot of credit for sitting there and listening and playing along with the conversations that Keanu is having. Uh, it's amazing. Keanu's only seen one season of Big Brother, and yet he obviously has this game figured out more than anyone else who has played the game, certainly more so than Rachel, or at least he would have you think. Yeah, Keanu having a lot of conversations with Rachel, more talking to Rachel than listening to Rachel when you get right down to it. But Keanu is saying that, look, he says, Rachel, you got to realize that, I want you and Jimmy on board with us to save Adrian or Kelly. He said, I know you're worried about, that they're voting against Will and that they would come against you at some later date. He said, I'm just telling you right now, it has nothing to do with you or Jimmy. It has to do with protecting Adrian and Kelly. The people who are going to be voting tomorrow night to send Will out the door are not coming for you and Jimmy afterwards. You don't have to worry about that. I've got it taken care of. Trust me, Rachel. He said that they are not coming after you. You don't have to worry about that, Rachel. He says it's just a matter of everyone on my side knowing that Mickey and Will and Ashley and Morgan are working together. They're the group that we're going to be targeting. And it's your name's not on there, Rachel. Jimmy's name's not on there. It's just those four that need to be worried. Y'all are good. We're going to bring you to our side, and y'all are going to be golden. Y'all are going to be part of a final eight. It's just going to work well for you, Rachel. And so you don't have to worry about that. Rachel's saying, I'm not sure those are the four that you need to be the most worried about in playing the game going forward, Keanu. But he's not buying. He said, nah, it's those four. Those are the ones we've got to worry about. He's saying that Mickey and Morgan have both told him to target. He said they came to me at two different times and had told me that we need to be targeting you and Jimmy, that y'all are the big targets. And so again, don't be thinking that Mickey and Morgan have your back, because they came to me and they told me that they shouldn't. I don't recall that conversation, but Keanu's throwing it out there for Rachel to consider. Rachel is asking about the Riley and the Cat votes, and Keanu's saying, yeah, no, we don't need Cat's vote. It doesn't matter. And she's saying, yeah, but Riley likes Cat. Is he really going to vote differently than Cat? And Keanu said, nah, Riley's good. He knows the difference between gameplay and lust. He's not going to let his lust get in the way of his gameplay. So yeah, we don't have to worry about that. Not as certain as Keanu is that Riley keeps those two distinct from one another. But yeah, Rachel's actually a little bit worried about those votes. Don't worry about it. Rachel at one point has a comment. She says, all right, so the way you're presenting this to me, Keanu, is we basically you've got all your alpha guys, your alpha bros over there, and y'all are coming after the four girls, right? So it's the alpha bros versus the girls, and you're telling me that and wanting me to jump sides with you, even though I'm a girl. And so, yeah, she's seeing that her place in this alliance of Keanu's may not be quite the beautiful prospect that Keanu is painting the picture for her. So she mentions that. Keanu starts talking about a 6-person alliance. And he says, I said 8 earlier, 6-person alliance. He says, look, we've got the people that are going to be going after that group of 4, but eventually we'll get out Zach. We'll get out, I think he said, who else did he say? I can't, Vince, I think he said at the end, it's going to be you and Jimmy and myself. We'll be the final 3. We'll ride it to the end. So yeah, we got this group of 6. And once we get to the final 6, then we'll cut the rest of them loose and we'll make it work. It's us, Rachel. We're going to the very end with it. Keanu's saying that if Rachel and Jimmy vote out Will this week, they're coasting to the final 8. So yeah, there was a mention of 6 and then the 8. And I think that's with the assumption that Zach and Vince head out a little earlier than the rest of them. So he said, all you got to do is just vote Will out this week and we coast. There's nothing else you got to do. It's all easy from here on out, Rachel. We'll make the final 8. We'll take care of business, final 3. And he talks to her a little bit about, hey, I want to see the 2-time winner. That could be you. It can't be me because I haven't won once yet. So I understand it can't be me. He said, nothing as exciting as sitting in the second place chair watching you win this thing. Yeah, he's so magnanimous to is that a word? To Rachel, wanting to just sit back and watch her win this whole thing. And he'll just be happy to take second place. But yeah, he's envisioning the two of them in a final 2 chair. Keanu's saying that he's the only one in this house that actually has a pulse on what's going on. I understand what's going on, Rachel, more than anyone else in here. So just trust me. Just trust me on this. He's saying that the other side has a guaranteed 3, and that's it. He said they don't have the votes. They do not have the votes to save Will. They're saying they do. He says, but if they tell you they do, they're lying. They're making it up. They don't. They've got 3 solid votes. The rest of them, they're just throwing things out there. They don't have the votes, Rachel. Rachel is saying that if it's between Kelly and Adrian, she said, forget about Will for a second. If it's between Kelly and Adrian, I'm keeping Kelly. You just need to be aware of that, Keanu. Keanu is saying, well, you can say that, but the consensus is really to keep Adrian. So if you want to vote against the house, Rachel, be my guest. But, everyone else is going to be voting to keep Adrian in this house. After this conversation, and again, I applaud Rachel for saying, oh, thank you for telling me, Keanu. I'm glad I got you to give me the information and all this. Keanu at one point says, look, I've got the pulse on the house. I have more information than anyone else in the house has. He says, well, actually, I guess now you do because I've told you everything I know. So now you know even more than me. But after doing all of that, Rachel leaves. Keanu's talking to the cameras, congratulating himself on such a fine conversation and persuasive argument that he's thrown out there. He's talking about the fact, he says, look, I'm too valuable for my side to let me go. He said, first of all, I'm the only person that's giving information to Rachel and Jimmy, so they're going to be appreciative of me like no one else. I mean, I'm obviously their person. The rest of the house, they can't. I'm too valuable for them to get rid of me. He says, and basically, I'm the quarterback of this group, of this team, so no one can cut me loose at this point. I am too important to be cut loose. Well, the quarterback may be getting benched next week. We'll see. Depends on how the HOH, not just benched, just thrown off the team. Scored it out of the stadium at this standpoint, at this point in time. But we got to see how HOH goes this evening. He may be the he may be the Mahomes that throws a Hail Mary, makes it happen tonight, wins HOH, and we'll see, we'll get another week of Keanu strategy talks. We'll see. But anyway, yeah, he's very excited about his position in the game right now, as he should be, right? Right? Yeah, maybe not so much. All right, I could talk for hours on Keanu. He is such an intriguing person. All right, but we got to move on. So other conversation. We got Rachel and Mickey and Jimmy. They're complaining about Morgan. There are little cracks in all of these groups. They're complaining about Morgan a little bit. Jimmy is upset because he said he heard Morgan was talking negatively about him. I didn't hear the actual conversation he's referencing. I'm guessing it's probably Morgan talking to Vince, because we've had some of those talks where they were a little suspicious of Jimmy. Well, Jimmy's aware of it. Vince probably told him. Vince tells way too many people way too many things, but it's gotten back to Jimmy that Morgan maybe wasn't talking fondly of Morgan, and so he's a little upset about the way that she's been talking about him. All right, we've got Rachel talking to Will and Ashley about an ice cream party up in the HOH, and this ice cream party consists of Kat and Riley, and Zach and Lauren, and Morgan and Vince, and she calls it a triple date. And normally I maybe wouldn't even mention this too much, but I won't mention this because of some conversations we have at the very end in terms of showmances and things like that. So yeah, Rachel laughing about them all having their triple date upstairs in the HOH room, eating a little ice cream. I think Lauren had a little bit of ice cream left. We heard Vince talking about all the different flavors he wanted to try while he still could. So enjoying her last night as HOH. Rachel complaining about Vince trying to run every HOH. She said, this is the third week in a row that he's been up there. He's talking to everyone, doing one-on-ones. Vince has been the HOH for the last 3 weeks, and I'm a little bit worried about that. She's telling Will and Ashley, she's saying, you know how this is going to turn out. At the end, if he makes it to the final two, if he's pitching to the jury, he's going to say, I ran the house. I controlled the house through the early game. I determined who was going to stay, who was going to go. She said he's building up his arguments. And I think it's Will. He said, well, we just need to make sure that he doesn't make it to that point then, right? Yeah, they all are. Vince has to be very careful. Vince has overcommitted to a whole bunch of people. And if he got lucky that he didn't win the veto, and we saw in the episode that he intentionally chose not to win the veto, so he didn't have his overly promises to a lot of people, didn't get called out on that. He's going to get called out here before too long, and we'll see how he handles it. All right, we got Keanu talking to Adrian about his conversation with Rachel. He says, look, Adrian, you're good now. I don't see any scenario in which you're going home now tomorrow night. I got it taken care of. You're good to go. If I'm Adrian, I don't know, that wouldn't give me a lot of comfort factor. It may actually scare the heck out of me if Keanu's the one telling me that. But he's telling Adrian, you're good. No, I got you covered, bro. All right, Kelly is pitching to Kat a little bit. Not a whole lot comes out of this conversation other than the fact that Kat says something about, Kelly, I would not put you up on the block if I got HOH. And Kelly said, I'm the same way. I'm not putting you up either. So they've agreed that they're going to watch out for each other. Assuming Kelly lasts beyond this evening. All right, we've got Lauren and Kelly talking about Kelly doing a little bit of campaigning last minute. Kelly's talking to Lauren. Lauren is saying that Kelly says, so how should I be feeling right now, Lauren? Lauren says, yeah, you ought to be feeling pretty good. I think you should be feeling okay. I think you're all right. She says, I think things are looking okay for you. Well, not really. But she's telling Kelly that. She does mention, though, that Ava hasn't decided her vote yet. We know that Ava potentially could be a swing vote in tonight's vote. I don't know that she will be, but she potentially could be, and she hasn't decided at this point in time yet. All right, we've got Keanu continuing his conversations. He's talking to Vince and Zach and telling them that Kelly had told him that Lauren had told her, what a game of telephone, that basically Lauren had told Kelly that she would break a tie in Kelly's favor if it came down to a tie. We've heard Lauren say that, but we also heard her say that she really wants to protect Adrian. So who knows? But according to Kelly, Lauren's going to break a tie in her favor. Keanu is saying that if HOH comes down to him versus one of the other members of his group of six, he's okay throwing it to him. He'll let them have it. He's comfortable enough, and he wants them to have the HOH. So he'll be happy doing that. Could be a dangerous decision, Keanu, if you do that. Keanu is confident, if nothing else, right? All right, we've got they are talking as well. Keanu is saying that Ava said she was voting with the House, and so he had to explain to her that if you want to vote with the House is not voting to say will. The House is on the other side, Ava. If you really are serious about wanting to vote with the House, make sure you know who the House is. And so he's kind of gotten Ava lined up as well. He explained that the House is not on Will's side, and she just needs to be aware of that. After Keanu leaves, Vince is laughing about Keanu, says he's just wrong about so much. So many things he's wrong about. Now, one comment I forgot to mention, at one point, Keanu said something. I don't remember if it's to the cameras or Zach or Vince. I think he probably said a few times that Rachel had said something about, oh, the master, the student has now become the master. Oh, you Padawan, you the dungeon master is taking control. Vince is having a fine time laughing about the delusion that is Keanu in that game of Big Brother. All right, we've got Vince and Morgan talking. Not so serious here. Morgan's just feeling down. Now Vince starts off. He is laughing again at Keanu, thinking he's teaching Rachel about Big Brother stuff. He's rehashing what's been going on to Morgan. He's saying everything Keanu is saying is just absolutely wrong. Excuse me. Morgan is worried though. She says, well, yeah, that's pretty dumb. She said, but he's obviously coming after me. Well, of course he is. You've been his huge target. He's been your bigger target. I mean, you can't have a conversation without criticizing Keanu. So of course he's coming for you. But she's worried about that, saying, if he wins HOH, I could be on the block. Vince is saying, look, Keanu's probably the only one in this house who's coming for you, Morgan. So, you should be good. The chances of him winning HOH are small, and anyone else's, you're going to be fine. So you should be all right. Don't worry about it too much. But Morgan is also, I think, a little worried about some of the things, worried about what Keanu maybe has been telling people. She says, look, I know Rachel and Jimmy know that I wouldn't put them up on the block. They know that. They know that's just Keanu spouting off. But, he told them. What else has he told people? Morgan is worried about her game just in general. She's saying, look, if I'm on the block against anyone except maybe Ashley, if I'm on the block against anyone else, there's a good chance I'm going home. Vince is not nearly that certain that would happen. He's saying, nah, I think you got a lot better chance against a whole lot more people than you're giving yourself credit for, Morgan. But she's just getting a little stressed out about the game and some people that are still here that she really thought would be gone by now. She's also saying that Zach has Lauren goggles on. And that Lauren really needs to distance herself from Zach at this point in time. We're still seeing a little. I don't think this is all about gameplay. We're still seeing a little bit of conflict between Zach and Lauren and Morgan about who's gonna get Zach at the end of this thing. And these aren't the only two ladies who may be in the running, as we'll talk about in a second. All right, we got Kelly and Adrian in the bathroom downstairs, wishing each other good luck. Kelly says, I don't need that, Adrian. You're gonna win. So I don't really need luck. You're going to win the blockbuster. And so, good luck to you, but I know you're going to win, and I don't need it. You've got the luck that you need this evening. She does say that she thinks that either of them can win a vote against Will when it comes right down to it. Now, if she truly believes that, then that could be a dangerous situation. She certainly is acting as though she is expecting Adrian to win this blockbuster comp. If it came down to Adrian versus Kelly, is there any chance in the tipsy-turvy, upside-down world that Kelly is playing as Big Brother that she would throw that blockbuster comp to Adrian because she is so certain that she has the votes to overcome Will? Most people wouldn't. With Kelly, we're going to find out this evening. All right, we've got Ava and Mickey talking to each other. Ava's worried about Vinny talking so much to Keanu. She has noticed that. She's thinking because of that maybe Vinny will vote to save Adrian. Where is the house that she wants to vote with? So she is a little bit worried about that, mentioning that to Mickey. She's saying that Keanu had told her, remember he had said, oh, you got to know who the house is with. And she's saying that Keanu had said that he had 5 votes guaranteed already. Vinny and Riley and Kat and Kelly and Keanu. So if he had Ava, and then maybe someone else, and then suddenly Ava's voting with the right side of the house. Mickey's pointing out, saying, well, that could be. I mean, yeah, maybe he does have 5 votes. I'm not convinced of that, but we got more than that. She's saying our side of the house has me and you, Ava, and Morgan and Ashley and Zach and Rachel and Jimmy. We've got enough votes that we are going to be on the right side of the house. So, yeah, Mickey's countering this claim of Keanu that the other side's got the votes that they need. All right, we've got Vince warning Zach eventually that Ava is voting to save Will. He said, yeah, she's not going to break. I'm pretty certain that she's voting to save Will. We need to be aware of that because that could be the swing vote that's going to swing this the other direction. And he's worried. He's saying if she votes to save Will, that could put us into a tie situation, which Lauren doesn't want. We don't want it for Lauren, that she would have to break a tie. So as they start talking about this, they decide that their only chance really to maybe get Ava to swing this vote is for the two of them to also grab Lauren, and for Lauren, Vince, and Zach to all three kind of team up on Ava and convince her that Adrian needs to stay, that's the best benefit to her game. They're both agreeing that they don't want to blindside Jimmy with the vote either. That if they are going to vote to save Adrian over Will, they'd like for Jimmy to know ahead of time, so that doesn't create any issues with him and their relationship, so they'd like to do that. Remember, they talked about a day or two ago that maybe they would tell Jimmy this information, but only right before the votes, so that Jimmy wouldn't be blindsided, but he wouldn't have enough time to go out and talk to other people and try to sway votes back towards Will. So they're still a little bit worried about Jimmy and how he's going to respond to this. They're both agreeing that Adrian staying is best for their game, but they're also saying at the same time that we don't want to be just a handful of votes voting to save Adrian, and suddenly now people are questioning us and we're not a part of that group. In other words, we also, just like Ava, we want to vote with the house. We just need to figure out where the house is. All right, we've got Zach and Vince continuing to talk. They're talking about Morgan spiraling. Again, Vince had just had this conversation with Morgan. He's saying, look, she's worried about going on the block and how that could affect her, that she could be a target from our side. But Zach is saying it may not all be gameplay either. He's saying she was crying to Rachel apparently because I guess she thought that I'm spending way too much time with Lauren. I'm hanging around with Lauren constantly. And so Morgan's upset about that. Remember, we had a conversation between Morgan and Zach last week, I guess, where she said, when I fall for someone, I really fall hard for them. And we may be seeing that here. So they're thinking it could be gameplay and some personal stuff. Both have got Morgan just not feeling her greatest this evening. All right, we've got Lauren and Zach and Vince do indeed visit with Ava, trying to convince her that it'd be better for her to switch over and vote out Will and save Adrian or Kelly, I suppose, but more so Adrian. But she's saying, you know what, let's wait till the morning to decide. She said, we can decide now, and then people sleep and people change their mind anyway. So let's just hold it off until the morning right now. We'll decide at that point in time. We've got Jimmy and Mickey talking to each other. Jimmy is talking about the fact he had to really work Zach hard to get Zach to commit to keeping Will in a vote. So depending on who you're talking to, these votes are all over the place. All right, Jimmy is telling Ava a little bit later. He said, look, I'm planning to vote to save Will. I don't know, whatever other people are saying, I'm voting to save Will, and don't let people tell you otherwise. Later with this information, Ava tells Zach, she said, I'm not voting Will out over Adrian. I know we talked about it. I'm not doing it. I'm going to vote Adrian out. I'm voting to save Will in basically any situation. She's thinking the only people who would vote to save Adrian in that scenario will probably be Riley and Kat and Keanu and Kelly. So she has decided, I think it's based on what Jimmy told her, she has decided that side of the house to save Will is the majority. And so she's just letting Zach know that it's not gonna happen. I'm not switching votes at this point in time. And that's just going to create a little bit of a domino effect throughout the evening. All right, we've got Rachel and Morgan and Mickey, and Jimmy comes in a little bit later, I believe. they're all complaining about a bunch of other house guests in this house that they say they're not helping in the kitchen, they're not cooking, they're not cleaning dishes, they're not doing household chores through the rest of the house. They're just not doing anything. They're freeloaders in the house. And Jimmy's kind of taking the lead at one point. Well, I take that back. Well, we'll follow. Another conversation actually took place a little earlier, but Jimmy is complaining, saying, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but, and he proceeds to talk about Will, saying Will never does his dishes. He says Vince said neither, and he says, and Kat and Lauren, they're doing less than Ashley, and that's not saying a whole lot either. So again, Will and Kat and Lauren and Ashley and Vince, he just got a lot of people he's not throwing under the bus. So he's a little upset about that. The conversation before Jimmy came in that I was getting ready to talk to is Morgan and Rachel and Mickey. They're going after Keanu specifically. They're watching the monitor. They're up in the HOH watching the monitors, watching Keanu took way too much food, lasagna, then said, this isn't going to work. Took a lot of the lasagna off his plate, put it back in the bowl. So now it's all kind of messed up. At one point, he took a hamburger that Riley had cooked for Kat. Remember, she's a have-not. It's a hamburger that he cooked for Kat that was a special heart-shaped bun or hamburger patty. I can't remember which one, but that he took that and Kat and Rachel would say, "Nah, put that back. That's for Kat." But they're just complaining that he's taking all this food, eating everything. They're saying, look at his plate compared to Zach. They're saying you can't even see the plate on Keanu's deal, and they're saying, look, we'll get. Oh, I think it's Morgan says, I'm gonna make Zach or Keanu a have not. Think of how much more food we'll have in the house if we do that. So, yeah, really criticizing Keanu a lot for his eating styles, eating patterns in the house. All right, the have not. Speaking of have nots, have nots are over. Jimmy and Kat are eating. Unfortunately, a lot of food was cooked up, but the house guests just decided not to wait this week. If I was Kat and Will, I'd be a little perturbed because they all started eating around 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock or so. They ate almost all the hamburgers, almost all of the lasagna. I don't think there was much left at all. And not nearly as much celebration as we had in the past. But the have-nots are over, so they are getting to eat again, but maybe not the feast that some house guests have gotten in the past. All right, we've got Jimmy and Mickey talking to each other. Jimmy's worried about Vince. He's saying, look, if Vince has been having one-on-ones with everyone in this house, basically everyone in this house, but Vince just keeps talking to. We already heard Rachel talking about that a little bit earlier as well. People are noticing Vince having a lot of conversations. So Jimmy's worried about that. And Jimmy and Vince supposedly working together, but he may be seeing some allegiances theoretically being torn based on Vince having so many conversations. So he's vocalizing that to Mickey. All right. And now let's talk about the new dating scandal that we've got in the house. Maybe scandal's a little too strong a word, but we've got a new little dating situation. Ashley, Zach, could that be an item? We've got Rachel and Mickey talking to Ashley saying, look, Zach's kind of flirting with you, but you're flirting with Zach a whole lot, and you got to be careful. They said, while you're sitting there flirting with Zach in the backyard, Morgan was up on the balcony watching you, and she's aware of what you're doing here, Ashley. You need to be careful. Ashley's saying, look, he's flirting with me, so I'm just doing it back. I'm just having fun. Nothing serious. It's just a joke. That's all it is. But then she proceeds to talk about how, yeah, Zach's attractive and he's a nice guy and all of that. But nah, it's just a joke. It's no big deal. But Rachel and Mickey are warning her, saying, look, you may think it's just having fun, but Lauren and Morgan, they may not be quite as happy to see that. They may be a little more upset, and we got to do everything we can to keep them with us. If you start doing things that are going to alienate them, it could cause issues. So you got to be careful, Ashley. This can't continue to happen. So we'll see. I don't think there's anything serious to it. Now, if Ashley thought Zach had some interest, then perhaps so. Zach is laughing about it a little bit. He hears a little bit of this conversation or is told a little bit later. And yeah, Zach, yeah. One more decision he has to make in terms of showmances in the house, I suppose. All right, so we do have that. We'll see. I don't think he'll go anywhere, but it may make for some more gossip over the next few days. And now we have, with all the conversation that take place, we've got some possible vote swaps. Sounds like some highly likely vote swaps. and that's in the form of Zach and Vince. Zach and Vince now have suddenly shifted, and they're talking about voting to save Will no matter what. I think Zach says, "Hey, Vince, so we're voting to save Will no matter what." Turn on a dime, these two do. So yeah, they're now. I think they're seeing the house, which way it's leaning, and they want to make sure they're on with that. I truly think what Jimmy told Ava and then what Ava told Zach, it just led to a bit of a lot of ripples across the pond, so to speak. And now it's reached these two, and they've decided that Jimmy's not going to switch, Ava's not going to switch, Rachel's not going to switch. So probably rather than hold out and vote to save Adrian or Kelly and know that it's not going to work, switch over to Will, and we'll tell everyone we're on that side of the house. That's going to way it's going to work. So they sound like they have now decided to switch their votes. They're a little worried. They're saying, how do we tell Keanu that we're going to vote to save Will? How do we break that news to him? And I think it's Zach who said, he's not going to get it. It'll be all right. Anyone can tell him anything and he'll be okay with it. But I do want to see that conversation. So they're wondering how they're going to tell Will. They eventually decide that they're going to tell Keanu and Adrian and Kelly, all three, that they just, as much as they want to save those two, they can't pull the votes together that they thought they could. And as part of that, they're also going to say that the best they maybe could do, maybe was to force a tie. And they're not going to do that and force Lauren to make a decision like that. They just don't want to do that to her. If I'm Adrian and Kelly, that's going to chap me just a little bit. They're like, all right, we're on the block. She can do a little extra and break a tie. Don't. Why are you worried more about Lauren's feelings about breaking a tie than you're worried about me going home? But yeah, they said they're gonna just tell them they tried everything, they couldn't get the votes. They don't want to force Lauren to break a tie, so they're gonna have to switch with the other side, regardless of who may be on the block at that point in time. So there you have it. And with that, house guest in bed by 2 o'clock or so, Big Brother time. I was having some problems with my live feed, so I've got to work that out before tomorrow. But I think that they called it an early night, HOH going on today, so everyone's trying to get as much rest as they can, and they probably need to do so because it could be a very interesting HOH competition. We shall see. But with everything going on, I do think at this point in time, Will's safe no matter what. I believe that Kelly probably needs to win the blockbuster competition, or Adrian wins out over Kelly when it comes to votes. But we'll find out. It's going to be an exciting evening, guys. Y'all have a fantastic Thursday. Enjoy the live show this evening. Hey, maybe we get to watch an HOH competition. I've heard talk about the wall. I heard talk about pressure cookers. We'll see what happens. But until tomorrow morning, SKD 143. I'll be back tomorrow morning, give you more updates. Y'all have a great Thursday, guys. Cheers, my friends.